Okay, so we're going to take a look at questions relating to frequency polygons. Now, frequency polygon is just another way of representing grouped data in a similar way to the grouped frequency diagram, which is basically a connected bar chart. And the benefit of frequency polygons are usually when you're plotting two sets of data on the same graph, although none of the questions that we look at will actually do that. So all you need to realize is that when you are plotting these frequencies, you are plotting them on the midpoint of the range that the data represents. So for this one, we'd be plotting it on the midpoint of between 1 and 20, well, the midpoint of between 1 and 20. If you add those together, you get 21. Half it will give you the midpoint. So the midpoint would be half of 21, 10.5. Half of 61, which would be 30.5, 50.5, 70.5, and 90.5. So let's get the context of the question then. So the points scored by 40 fishermen in a competition were recorded. The table shows a grouped frequency diagram of the results. So usually when I tell students to work with data that's in a table, you try to interpret it before you go on. So you pick a column and you turn it into words. So this is saying that 16 fishermen scored between 21 and 40 points. 6 fishermen scored between 61 and 80 points, and so on. So the graph is the axes are pre-printed for you already. So what you need to check is that you're aware what each little square stands for. So we're going from 0 to 10 in 5 jumps. So each little square is worth 2. So the first point we're going to plot is at 10.5, which is just slightly to the right of 10, and that's 4. So just slightly offset. We'll put that cross there. And then the next one at 30.5 will be 16. So 30 is there. So 30.5, slightly off it. 41 to 60 will go at 50.5 to a height of 12. So 50 is there. And 12 is there. So slightly to the right of 50. 61 to 80 is 6, and that'll go on the midpoint. Cross there, and at 90.5 we're down to 2. So you plot the points at the height for the frequency and at the middle point in the range that the group represents. And then all you do is you join your crosses together using a ruler. So it's a straight line through your points, or connecting your points. So like that, and finally like that. And that's a group frequency polygon. You don't join that to 0, and you don't join that to 100. It's just connecting where, if you'd have drawn a group frequency diagram, the middle of where the columns would be. So the polygon looks like that. Now what I've done for the next question is deliberately put in a group frequency diagram, not a polygon, just so that we can remind ourselves what the difference is. So with this one, the context, the duration in minutes of each of 150 phone calls was recorded. The table shows a group frequency distribution of the results. Pick a row. What is this row telling me? It's telling me that there were 26 phone calls that took between 10 and 15 minutes to conclude. It includes the 15 minutes. It doesn't include 10. Now this time we haven't been given the axes, so there's going to be marks for setting that out. time, the duration is going to be the horizontal, and we need to go from 0 to 30. So if we went 10, 20, 30, we wouldn't fully use our grid. So if we go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, that will do it. And we need to label the axes. So that's duration in the context, and it's in minutes. And then going up, the largest we need to go up to is 58. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 will do it this way. Number of phone calls. So that's a nicely spaced out use of the graph paper, and the axes have all been labelled. So if this was a frequency polygon, I'd be plotting it 2.5, 7.5, 12.5 and so on. But because this one is a diagram, we draw the bars. So the first bar, which is going to go from 0 to 5, is 36. So that's going to look like that. The next one is 58. The next one, 26. The next one, 18. Then 10. And finally 2. So that's a group frequency diagram. If that question had asked for a polygon, I'll draw the polygon in a different colour. So I'll do that one in green. So what would have happened then is we wouldn't have drawn the bars, and at the midpoints of these heights we would have drawn So that's what the frequency polygon would have looked like. Now, what's most important is you never draw both. If you draw both, you won't get marks. So if you're not sure which one is which, make a guess for one of them. And if you guess right, you're going to get the marks. If you do both, then you will be penalized. So the last thing I'll put here is never draw both. Okay, never do that, otherwise you lose all your marks. So if it's a diagram, it's the red columns. If it's a polygon, it's the green connected lines. Okay, next question. So, on a Saturday, an internet cafe owner recorded the time of each of 100 customers spent answering emails. The table below shows a summary of the results. So pick a row. I'm going to go for this one. So this is telling me that 32 customers spent between 20 and 30 minutes answering emails. 30 minutes is included, 20 minutes isn't. On the graph paper below, draw the frequency polygon. So this is one with connected dots. So the midpoints, let's work out what those are. So the midpoint, halfway between 0 and 10 is 5. Halfway between 10 and 20 is 15, 25, 35, 45. So that's what we're going to be plotting. Let's fill our graph. Going this way, we need to go from 0 to 50, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So we can go up as far as 60, although we won't travel that far. And the largest frequency is 32, 10, 20, 30, 40. And we can go up as far as 50, but we don't need to. So there's my graph. Let's plot. So on 5, I'm going up 23. 1, 2, 3. On 15, I'm going up 27. On 25, I'm going up 32. On 35, I'm going up 16. And on 45, I'm going up 2. So then we join our dots together. And it's done. So that's that one. Next question. Trainer sizes are given as whole numbers. A survey of the size of the trainers worn by 20 women is carried out. The table below shows a summary of the results. Pick a row. This is telling me 12 women wear trainers of size 37 up to 39, including 37 and 39. As you can see now, I've jumped to C, so there's some other things that you would need to do in there which have got nothing to do with frequency polygons, probably estimating the mean or something like that. On the graph paper below, draw a grouped frequency polygon. So we need the mid, halfway between 34 and 36, 35, 38, 41, 44. So in this direction, that's where we're going to be plotting our points. We need to go up this axis to a maximum of 12. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 will best fill it. And label this number of women, and this has already been labelled. So that's a fully labelled axis. Now we can start plotting. So at 35, we're going up 4. 38, we're going up 12. Hold on, what have I done wrong there? 35. 38, sorry, is there. Just X that out. So it's 35, 38, 41 is 3, and 44 is 1. Join those up. And that's our group frequency polygon. So hopefully you can see these are pretty straightforward things to deal with. Okay, the arm lengths of 100 women were measured in centimeters. The table below shows a group frequency distribution of the results. So pick a row or a column. So this is telling me that there were 18 women whose arm lengths were between 55 and 60 centimeters, not including 55, but including 60. It's a frequency polygon, so we want the middle values. So halfway between 50 and 55 will be 52.5, 57.5, 62.5, 67.5, 72.5. The axes are already laid out for us. So the first one is going to be halfway between 50 and 55, and that's going to be 4. These are going up in ones, so 4 and halfway is going to take us there. Halfway between 55 and 60, we need to go up to 18, which is going to be there. 62.5, 38. So 62.5, 38. 67.5, 30. And 72.5, 10. Join them up, job's done. There you go, that's that one. And then finally, in Bilchbach, the rainfall for each of 10 days was measured. The results are summarized in the table below. So this is telling me there were 2 days where the rainfall was between 5.5 and 6.5, inclusive of the 5.5. On the graph paper below, draw a frequency polygon. So we need the mid. Halfway between 4.5 and 5.5 is 4, 6, 6.5, 7, sorry, that's 5. That's what was throwing me then. Halfway here is 8 and halfway here is 9. Axis already drawn for us. So at 5 we're going to plot 4. At 6 we're going to plot 2. At 7 we're going to plot 0. At 8 we're going to plot 2. And at 9 we're going to plot 2. So that's the first. That's the second. And that's the third. So that's your frequency polygon. So the final thing to say is to make sure when you're plotting the points that the examiner can clearly see where your midpoints are. So always make sure that your point is clearly standing out from the line. So don't just put a small little dot, make sure it's a clear cross so that it stands out as well as the line. And that's it, that's frequency polygons.